Hello, welcome to Glorify the Lord with me. Let's exalt His name together. Today, I want to talk about a characteristic of God that I've not really touched on, at least not directly. I've talked about how God is a great king. I've talked about how He's creator. I've talked about how He's our rock and our deliverer and our fortress. But I haven't really specifically talked about Him being a righteous judge. And I want to talk about that today because that's a prevalent theme in Psalms, and it's a topic that is mixed with fear, but then also great optimism. So let me share a couple of verses and then just make a couple comments. Psalm 9 is a good one on God being a righteous judge. Verse 4 says, "For you have upheld my right and my cause, sitting enthroned as the righteous judge." So God sits enthroned as the righteous judge. So He upholds our rights and our good causes. Verses 7 and 8 in Psalm 9 say, "The Lord reigns forever. He has established His throne for judgment. He rules the world in righteousness and judges the peoples with equity." Psalm 9 goes on to say, "The Lord is known by His acts of justice." So this is an element of God that we've got to understand. He is a righteous judge. He's concerned with justice. Psalm 11 says, "For the Lord is righteous. He loves justice. The upright will see His face." That's an interesting one, right? The upright will see His face. Psalm 33 says, "From heaven the Lord looks down and sees all mankind. From His dwelling place He watches all who live on earth. He who forms the hearts of all, who considers everything they do." So nothing escapes His notice. Nothing escapes His attention. He sees. He knows what we're doing. Well, let me move to Psalm 50. It says this, "He summons the heavens above and the earth, that He may judge His people. Gather to me this consecrated people, who made a covenant with me by sacrifice. And the heavens proclaim His righteousness, for He is a God of justice." Now, so in a way, when you read these and you hear these, you do think, wow, He's a judge and I'm going to be judged. And that is an element of fear and wrath that we've got to consider, because there are plenty of verses that say that God hates the wicked. He abhors the wicked. So our actions matter. But we are under the new covenant. And I believe this Psalm 50 is really looking forward to that when it says, "Gather to me this consecrated people who made a covenant with me by sacrifice." You see, Jesus' sacrifice, and it wasn't just a ritual sacrifice. No one took His life. He laid it down. But when He did that, He paid the price, and justice was served. And so when you think about it, for those of us who have covenanted to have Jesus be our Lord, it would be unjust for God to hold us into account for our failings, because He's already had payment. Jesus has already made that payment. So God's justice actually is our salvation because of what Jesus did for us. But it is important to remember that's for those of us who have really covenanted for Jesus to be our Lord. Then we're under His act of justice, or His act of sacrifice, that brings us in a good place of God's justice. So I wanted to just paint a broad brush about that, but we can't forget that God looks down, He sees what we do, and He is a righteous judge. But not just for our failings, but also for our causes. And when we are oppressed, His sense of justice will ultimately deliver us. So thank you for listening today. God bless you, and we will talk soon.